Kevin Durant has once again formed a super team after acquiring Bradley Beal. The Celtics shocked the NBA world by trading for Kristaps Porzingis. The Warriors then sent more shockwaves throughout the league by swapping Jordan Poole for Chris Paul. Ladies and gentlemen, the 2024 NBA season hasn't even started yet, but it's looking to become a beast of a season. And my gosh, guys, I cannot wait. And with that being said, here are the untold storylines that are coming up around the corner. So first off is the Victor Wembanyama hype train. Did y'all know that throughout the history of the San Antonio Spurs, they've only had 3 number 1 picks? Yeah, I ain't kidding. And coincidentally, it just so happens that all 3 of them have been 7-foot giants. David Robinson back in '87, Tim Duncan back in '97, and now Victor Wembanyama in 2023. What's also true about their number 1 picks so far is that they've both won Rookie of the Year, they were both selected into the All-Star team and the All-NBA teams in their first year in the league. How crazy is that? Anyway, can the quote-unquote best prospect in NBA history continue on the tradition of the Spurs and dominate? Can he show us enough and prove to the NBA world that he wasn't just hype? That there was something actually behind all the headlines? Well, one thing is for certain. All eyes will be on the one who's been said to be a mix of Durant and Giannis. And speaking of Giannis, he's going to have something to prove as well. After getting that 50-piece and winning the championship back in 2021, he was supposed to be the new king of the East and dominate like how LeBron dominated the East for like a decade. But instead, it hasn't looked good for the Greek freak in the postseason at all. I mean, a second-round exit in 2022, then in 2023, he and his team became just the 6th first seed in NBA history to ever lose to an 8th-seeded team. That doesn't look good on his resume. Now, can Giannis take back the East and reclaim the conference that was supposed to be his? Well, one thing is for sure. This task has gotten exponentially more difficult after the Boston Celtics acquired Kristaps, the unicorn, Porzingis. Sheesh, guys. Did anyone expect the Celtics to shake things up like this? I mean, for 2 straight years, they were practically right there at the finish line. A few more shots going in here or there, and they potentially could have already won a championship. But instead, it's come to this. To acquire the 7'3" former All-Star, they had to give up the heart and soul of their team, Marcus Smart. And I wonder if Tatum and Brown feel any guilt on their parts. I mean, in that series against the Heat, the 2 of them shot 18 for 90 from 3-point range, which comes out to a whopping 20%, which ultimately got the 2022 Defensive Player of the Year traded. Anyway, the Celtics making this transaction means only one thing, that they're going all in. Whether or not they can actually get over the hump still remains to be seen, but one thing is for sure, the basketball world will be keeping tabs on the ones wearing green. Next off, I want to talk about the Orlando Magic. They've been at the bottom of the Eastern Conference for a while now, but man, at the moment, they are stacked with talent. I mean, Paolo Banchero, Markelle Fultz, Bobo, Jalen Suggs, Franz Wagner, Cole Anthony, Wendell Carter Jr. Yikes, guys. You know, if there's anything about this team that speaks about its potential, it's that in 2023, they beat the Boston Celtics in 3 of their 4 matchups. Size, talent, athleticism. They have all the basic raw ingredients needed to become a sleeper team in the East. So the storyline for the Magic is going to be, can they convert all these talents into something more than just another year in the lottery? That remains to be seen, but anyway, I know there's a lot more storylines to go over in the East, like the 76ers and the Heat, for example, but I want to shift our attention over to the West now, and I think I'll start off with the elephant in the room, the Phoenix Suns. As of the moment, Beal, Booker, and Durant are the most formidable big 3 in the NBA when it comes to scoring. I mean, they could all average 30 if they wanted to, and the mind-boggling fact about all this is that they still got DeAndre Ayton as well. What a team, guys. What a team. Defense is the only real big criticism that people have for this team, but the thing is, they've hired Frank Vogel, a championship-level coach who specializes in defense. Anyway, despite all this, the only real storyline going on here is, can Kevin Durant win a ring without Steph Curry? Everything is always going to be about this narrative when it comes to Kevin Durant, and that's never going to change until he gets the job done. I mean, I bet Charles Barkley is going to bring up the whole bus driver analogy again and again, and to be honest, I can't wait for it. But besides the Suns, the next big storyline going on in the West is going to be about the Golden State Warriors. They just acquired the point guard by trading away the pool party, and after acquiring Trace Jackson-Davis in the second round, they're really just one 7-footer away from being absolutely scary. People like Kendrick Perkins are always going to say that the Warriors dynasty is over, but they're going to show in 2024 that that's far from the truth. With arguably the best starting five in the NBA today, and with the point guard leading their second unit, this isn't going to be a team that anybody is going to want to see in the playoffs. Then to add to that, one other thing that doesn't get talked about enough about Golden State is the fact that they're hungry again. Losing against LeBron James and the all-referee first team is exactly what Steph Curry and the crew needed to get that fire burning again, and I'm sure they're going to look completely different when the season opens in October. Can the Warriors pull it off again? Can the dynasty of Steph, Clay, and Draymond once again reach the top of the NBA and hoist another Larry O'Brien trophy and end Chris Paul's career on a high note? Well, one thing is for sure, the NBA community will be watching. And some of the NBA community will actually be watching from home, like Ja Morant. The Grizzlies superstar is another storyline for 2024. Can the former number 2 overall pick finally clean up his act and become one of the new faces of the NBA? Or will he appear with a weapon in yet another Instagram Live and ruin his career? That remains to be seen, but honestly, at the pace that he's currently going at, I wouldn't be surprised at all if Ja soon appears in yet another headline that features him in a negative light. Anyway, is it me, or is the 2019 draft cursed, or what? Because we're about to talk about Zion Williamson next. The former number 1 pick always has the same storylines every single season. Can he stay in shape and stay healthy enough to make some noise in the playoffs? As we all saw from last season, when the man is healthy, the New Orleans Pelicans were at one point the top team in the West. But when he's on the bench, they're mediocre at best. The storyline in 2024 for Zion, although for different reasons, is going to be the same one for Ja. Can he finally clean up his off-the-court act and become one of the new faces of the NBA? And the truth is, this is probably his last straw with the Pelicans. One more lost season due to injury, and I have no doubt that they're going to ship him out of New Orleans. Moving on here, another interesting storyline is going to be the Los Angeles Lakers. Can LeBron James, who will turn 39 next season, once again defy Father Time and average close to 30 points per game? Man, whether you love him or you hate him, you can't deny the fact that he's a hooping machine. I mean, in 2022, at the age of 38, the man averaged 35.5 minutes per game while scoring 29 points per game along with 8 rebounds. How the man doesn't get routinely tested for drugs and steroids is beyond me, but man, at this rate, LeBron James could be the first player to ever play till he's 50 or something. Anyway, if LeBron does put on another elite performance in 2024, the other storyline is, will his teammates step up and get him over the hump for his 5th ring? And if you're wondering which teammates I'm talking about, I'm specifically looking at Mark Davis and Scott Foster, David Guthrie. Moving on here. Did y'all know that after the Nuggets won their first ever championship, their head coach Michael Malone publicly said that they want more? So, the great storyline here is, can they? As formidable as they just looked, the truth is, they have a target on their backs now. Nikola Jokic dominated the 2023 playoffs by averaging an insane 30-point triple-double, but the difference next year is, every team will have had the opportunity to see how he did it. Will the Nuggets' same game plans work for next year? Maybe, maybe not. But it'll be interesting now that teams are going to be hunting for them all year. Anyway, I know there's a lot more storylines to go in the Western Conference, like the Kings and the Clippers, for example, but the last team I want to touch on are the OKC Thunder. Everyone is so stoked and hung up on Victor Wembanyama that they're overlooking the fact that Chet Holmgren is going to finally play his first NBA minutes too, But the only difference is he's going to have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who just made the All-NBA first team, on his side. The Thunder have a solid group of players. They have experience now too, and adding a 7'1" unicorn is only going to make them better. They're going to be the sleeper team in the West and are going to have one of the more interesting storylines going forward in 2024. I haven't gotten my prediction videos up yet, but I got the OKC Thunder making the playoffs. Anyway, what's your top storyline you got going into 2024? Let me know in the comments down below, then watch this video next.